What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Queens Bros. I'm your host, Joe, and today I have my co-host here. Finally, the anticipation of the codes that I've been posting every single day. My boy, William Gallego.
We'll see how long this lasts, man. It'll be a trial basis. We'll see how long Joey wants me to stay on here.
Yeah, so, I had an episode with Keith McPherson, WFAN, boy comes on. Then all of a sudden, this guy hits me up and he's like, yo, what's the deal with being co-host? I said, yo, you come on whatever you want. And now he's here. But in all honesty, we've been talking about this for weeks, probably like a month or so. And in all honesty, this is the guy that I forgot when it was. I think it was like
last year.
Yeah, it was like a year ago where you were like, "Yo, like we should like do some kind of podcast." And like I think I said maybe like that sounds pretty cool. And then I just put it into motion by myself and was like, fuck it, I'll do it. And we're here. Anyways, let's get to what we're going to be discussing today. So the first thing we're going to be discussing is the Super Bowl. So what do you think about the Super Bowl?
Well, first and foremost, unlike you, I'm a Giants fan, so it was tough watching the Eagles win a Super Bowl, knowing how far the Giants are from winning one. But genuinely happy for Saquon Barkley. Great individual, great human being. He didn't have the best game in the Super Bowl, but that doesn't matter. He's the reason they were there. Great year he had. I'm not one of those Giants fans that, thinks he's dead or whatever because he left to the Eagles. The Giants made it very clear they didn't want him. They fumbled his career. And if you look at the way he played this year, it's pretty clear it was time for him to move on. If he had stayed on the Giants, they would have won, 5, 6 games, and they'd be picking 8, 9. And then as far as the Super Bowl, I hear a lot of people talking about how the GOAT debate between Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady might be over, might be settled because of how poorly Mahomes played. But I don't know. The guy's not even 30 yet. He still has 10 more years to go. We don't know what he can do over the next 10 years. And he's proven to be the best, the class of the AFC. So I'm sure he will be back many more times, and we'll be having this conversation a lot more.
So you're actually happy about Saquon winning?
Yeah, I'm not one of those fans that's a hater. What did Saquon do that was really wrong, that's how I see it. The Giants chose not to pay him. They chose to pay Daniel Jones. We all saw how that worked out. And I think that when it comes to Saquon specifically, he proved that he's still capable. He can still lead teams to win, but he's not the main piece. He's supposed to be one of 4 or 5, And on the Giants, he would have been the main piece. They don't have the other pieces that the Eagles have. Never mind the 5 offensive linemen. Look at their 2 wide receivers between A.J. Brown and Devontae. You know what I mean? That team is just stacked top to bottom on offense, and it turned out that Saquon was the final piece.
Yeah, because I know a lot of Giant fans are very upset about Saquon going to the Eagles, so they didn't want to see him succeed. I heard on the radio on WFAN, because I listen to that all the time, and everyone calling in was like, I hate the Eagles. I don't want the Eagles to win, but I even more so do not want to see the Eagles win because Saquon Barkley's on the team, and Saquon Barkley chose to go to the Eagles. Now, I agree with you. The Giants didn't offer him really anything. They told him, go test the free agency market. Now, I could understand. I'm not a Giant fan, but I could understand as a sports aspect, going to the Eagles is kind of all right, for example, the sport that everybody knows that is my favorite sport, baseball. Pete Alonso chose to go to the Phillies when he was a free agent. I would have been very unhappy, even if the Mets didn't offer him anything.
But you were a Jets fan who welcomed back Revis after he played with the New England Patriots and won a Super Bowl with them. And the Patriots tortured the Jets for years. So I don't understand how you can blame the player. The Eagles offered him more money than anyone else. Actually, I don't think that's true, if I remember correctly. There was another team that offered him more. But they offered him the chance to win now and to actually be successful, and that's what he wanted. So did you root against Darrelle Revis when he came back, or were you happy when he came back?
See, this is where it's this is where it's coming to play. I forgot to mention, my new co-host is like a encyclopedia in sports inside the brain. This guy remembers everything. All right, you're right. He's right. I can't disagree. I can't disagree with that. Yes, I welcome back Darrelle Revis. He went to Patriots.
He won a Super Bowl with
Yes, he won a Super Bowl with them. Same thing.
Yeah.
I don't know how all Jeff fans felt about that, though. Because me, specifically, I hate the Patriots. I can't stand the Patriots. They tarnished us for years. But football with me is for some reason a little different than baseball. I don't know why. For example, P. Alonso went to the Phillies. I don't want him coming back to the Mets. I refuse for him to come back to the Mets. Football, I'm a little different. For example, I was rooting for the Bills. Bro, I would never do that in baseball. I would never, ever root for a team in my division in baseball. But I actually wanted them to win.
Fair, but you and I both have the unfortunate experience of rooting for the only team in the NL East that has not won a World Series in our lifetime.
Yeah.
Like every team in the NL East has won a World Series in our lifetime. The Marlins, 97, 2003, Phillies in '08. Even though Philly acts like they've won a million World Series, it's crazy. They won one World Series, but anyways, and lost two in our lives actually. We also saw the Braves and the Nats. So, it's a little different when you're talking about rooting for a team in the NL East versus the AFC East when you've really only seen the Patriots dominate. Like now, you know what I'm saying? Like the Bills, they're kind of like the Mets of football. Obviously the Jets obviously have their history, but the Bills haven't won anything either. So there's not a lot of animosity there probably.
I could understand your point about Saquon, and I didn't see any reason for Giants fans to be upset with Saquon. They literally had a video of the GM talking with Saquon, telling him, look, bro, you want to test the market? You go test the market. And that's what he did. And
before we get back to the Super Bowl, I'll just say this. If you're going to build like the perfect teammate, exemplary human being, it's going to be Saquon Barkley. The guy, he works out, he's accountable, he leads his team. There were a lot of Giants players that came out and said, like, when things were bad this year, Saquon's voice was missed. Like, he's a guy that you want to build around. Like, there's no reason why we should be hating him. It is what it is, man. The guy made a choice that was best for him. He tried a million times to get the Giants to play ball with him. They didn't. So he did what's best for him. You can't fault that. Now, I was one of those people that was hoping Saquon would rush for like 300 yards in the Super Bowl and then the Eagles would lose. But, the opposite ended up happening. It's fine. I'm happy that he gets to do, he did everything right. He deserves this moment.
Congrats to the Eagles. Amazing run. And like you said, that line that they had was incredible. I thought that line was and you know what's funny? Forget about the offensive line. Bro, they weren't blitzing Patrick Mahomes, and they were sacking this guy more than he's ever been sacked before. I just didn't understand. When I heard, I didn't realize they weren't blitzing. I just saw the sacks after sacks after sacks. And when I heard Tom Brady, I think it was, say, they're not even blitzing. They're not really sending anybody other than 4 men. That blew my mind.
Well, Jalen Hurts won the MVP, deservedly so. He had a great game, but I think another person who was overlooked was Sweat. He had a big impact in that first half from the rushing off the edge. And obviously Carter. That kid is amazing. The fact that he dropped last year, I think it was to 9 to the Eagles. You're just watching that and you're just like, come on, man. The rich get richer. They understand. Roseman understands how to build that line, the president of the Eagles. He's always been about the trenches. That's where he puts a lot of his investment in. And it pays off and it shows. I mean, to your point, on the Kansas City side, once Jones got hurt, you could really see the game opening up for the Eagles. They had one less body to worry about, and Jones is a beast on that KC D-line. So
there was a thing that I saw on the radio that they were trying to come up with. Who do you take on the Jets or the Giants? Do you take Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, or do you take their line? And I 100% take their line. I don't even know why that was a question. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
We've already seen Saquon Barkley run behind the Giants.
Yeah, it doesn't work. You got to have a line. Yeah. And that's why this offseason for the Jets, because I'm a Jet fan, obviously, this offseason, they need to work on their line. Like, work on that line before you work on a quarterback. Right now, I got to be honest. I know Aaron Rodgers is not coming back. I don't care about who's quarterbacking right now. Get me a damn line, bro. Because whoever you get, if you don't have a line, and we saw it in the Super Bowl, Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback we've ever seen. Bro, it was like having a giver when you play touch, and the giver just saying, I'm not going to count, you just run at me. Because it was crazy. I just saw guys running at him the entire game like I've never seen before. You got to have a line or your quarterback's not going to succeed. For years, Tom Brady had a great line, and he's one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. A quarterback, in my opinion, yes, a quarterback, they obviously have to have some kind of skill as well. But you're not going to be great if you don't have a line.
Well, look at Dak Prescott's career. That Cowboys line was amazing for all those years, and it allowed him the opportunity to sit back, watch, and learn that way. The more time a quarterback is afforded, the better they will develop. Like, you don't want to take those unnecessary hits whether it's like David Carr early in his career with the Texans. I think he still has the record for like most sacks in a year. That makes a huge difference because now that internal clock doesn't speed up and the guy actually takes time to learn the routes and he doesn't feel like he has to start throwing, get into bad habits. But it's going to be a while before the Giants and Jets are good.
Yeah,
it's going to be a while. Regardless of what happens at the line, both teams need a quarterback. And you don't win in this league without a quarterback. You just don't.
Going back to the Super Bowl, my thoughts, bro, after the first quarter, I couldn't even watch it anymore.
Yeah.
I was so over it. And a glimpse of me, even after the first quarter, you got Patrick Mahomes. You always feel like it's never over. You know, when Brady, he's like the modern day Brady. And when, you know, Brady was down to the Falcons with, I don't know, 7 minutes left on the clock in the third quarter, I think. And they were down, what was it, 28-3, right? And he came back. So I had some kind of hope going into the second. When the second was done and that interception happened, the touchdown to go into halftime, that's when I was like, all right, this is done, because there was nothing that I was seeing that was showing me that they were going to come back because of how badly he was being rushed and how distraught he looked on the sideline. So to me, I was just watching that Super Bowl and I was like over it by halftime.
Yeah, I think a lot of people knew that game was over at half. I think we were all hoping to see a comeback, a la the 2018 Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Falcons. But Philadelphia was relentless. I think if you watched some of the highlights, their experience 2 years ago where they were up and they were dominating the game and then KC came back on them, I think that really helped Philadelphia. They kept their foot on the pedal, and you could just see, like, look at the 2 Super Bowls that Mahomes has lost. He was sacked and was running for his life both times. Granted, when they faced the Bucs a couple years ago, they had a lot of injuries on their line, but yeah, no, that game was over. I would say probably the moment he threw that second interception to ending the second quarter. Yeah, it was it happens sometimes. It's probably why most of the time we want a game that kind of like goes into the fourth quarter. But
as a football fan, like if I'm an Eagles fan in that game, that's what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want stress. I've dealt with too much stress as a sports fan in my life.
Yeah,
you know this because you're baseball. We're the same. Football, we're not. And football is even worse than baseball. At least I seen my baseball team in the World Series. Football, I haven't. I mean, I've seen 2 AFC Championship series. Those were fun for a while. They lasted, but football, I've seen nothing. So. Yeah, I dealt with too much stress in my life. So as an Eagles fan, if that's my situation, that's what I want. But as a football fan watching that game, I want a good game. Like I want it to come down to like the last play, like Marshawn Lynch not running in the end zone type stuff. That's what I want when I'm watching a game and it's not my team.
Yeah. Plaxico Burress catching a touchdown.
Exactly. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. No, those Giant games, that Super Bowl with the Giants in 2007, that's the kind of stuff I want. David Tyree type stuff. Like show me some Super Bowl moments. I can't name a Super Bowl moment from the game we just saw last week. There's no Super Bowl. Come on. If you want a Super Bowl moment in that game, everything goes to the Eagles.
I think the big play, honestly, was the touchdown to Devontae Smith from Hurts. And I think it was the second quarter. That kind of like broke the backs of the Chiefs. That kind of ended any hope they had. Or maybe it was the third quarter. I'm not sure, but I didn't really watch the game after the second quarter, honestly. So
yeah, it was over. How'd you like the halftime show?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of Kendrick, so I think that if you didn't really know a lot about his music outside of Not Like Us or didn't really listen to him prior to that, you probably were disappointed. I think it's fair to say that rap is one of the hardest genres to like perform at the Super Bowl because it's very hard to hear what they're saying. You know, a lot of times the words kind of bend together. So I guess what I'll say is it wasn't for everybody, and that's okay. I mean, I enjoyed it personally, but I saw a lot of the critiques online, and some of them were fair, but it is what it is. There have been times like when people have performed on the Super Bowl that I haven't really been a fan. Like Madonna performed one year, and to each their own. If you're fans of Madonna, but again, if you're not a fan of her, like why would it really resonate with somebody? Same thing when like Tom Petty, I think, played one year, or like
Tom Petty.
I'm pretty sure he did.
That gotta be a long time ago. I don't
remember. It was one
that.
of the Giants Super Bowls. I'm pretty sure.
What?
I usually remember those Super Bowls. I'm pretty sure if we
really?
look it up, it'll be yeah. And then or I think one year MIA did it. Like the Super Bowls, even if like, or a couple years ago, J-Lo and Shakira, like if you're not a fan of the music, you're just not gonna really, it's not gonna resonate with you. Now, who was another one that got criticized? I think a couple years ago, was it the Weeknd, right? He had another performance that a lot of people thought was strange.
Well, I feel like there's gonna be critics every year because there's
Yeah.
gonna be somebody that doesn't like that music and they critique it. With me, I'm gonna be honest. I critique the Super Bowl halftime show every single year, and he already knows that I critiqued massively with the Kendrick Lamar.
Giants Patriots. Tom
That's
Petty.
crazy. I don't remember Tom Petty ever doing the Super Bowl halftime
Again,
show. It's crazy.
And I'm not even saying that I didn't like it. It's just at the time, I was 18 years old in high school. That's not really the
You're not gonna
genre
listen
of
to Tom
music
Petty.
I was
don't
listening
either.
to. My parents
That
were
might be why I
immigrants. They weren't like, hey, here's Tom Petty
That might
music.
be why I don't
listen to.
remember
You
it.
know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it was one of those things where like the music didn't resonate with me, but I wasn't there trashing it. It was just not for me.
Yeah.
I think people need to learn how to differentiate between.
Yeah. No, see, you already know so here's the thing with me. All right. I trash almost every Super Bowl halftime show. I'm gonna be honest. And the ones who already know that I've trashed Kendrick Lamar already for the halftime show, you're probably gonna hear this. Okay, probably speaking to Devin right now. The thing is with me, I just get pissed every freaking year, bro. I don't get happy every single year because I don't like how they completely take away the music that I listen to for the halftime show because supposedly people don't listen to my music, right? But in all honesty, yes, Kendrick Lamar is a huge rapper today. But if you're going the older generation, who a lot of them like football, none of them are listening to Kendrick Lamar. I saw those videos of those old people like watching. Those reaction videos were hilarious.
Well, I think a lot of that is also about who can afford to go to the Super Bowl. You're not really getting a bunch of common people at the Super Bowl or like people who actually watch football. Like the Super Bowl is turned into this extravaganza that if you have money, you can go. Ain't nobody's paying $5,000 tickets to go watch the Super Bowl. So of course the demographic that's at the Super Bowl is going to be somebody who can afford it. So they're probably not going to be jamming to Kendrick. But I'll tell you what, like when it came time to that part in the song, the entire stadium was singing Not Like Us. So
here's the thing with me. All right. Metallica has been dying to get onto the Super Bowl. From what I've seen, they've had reports, they've been trying to get onto the Super Bowl, and they said, the Super Bowl is probably looking for people flying on unicorns, and that's literally their quote, flying on unicorns, swinging from the sky. We're not going to be doing that. Kendrick didn't do any of that. You know what I mean? Kendrick had a little nice performance, some nice dances, but he didn't do any of that. So I'm speaking to the NFL right now that next year, the Super Bowl is going to be in San Francisco. Do you know whose hometown is San Francisco? Metallica. That's their hometown. Okay?
I think you might be disappointed.
Of course I'm going to be disappointed. I guarantee it's going to be Bad Bunny or somebody. I'm telling you, it's going to be Bad Bunny because he's, again, one of the biggest artists out there. That's their hometown. I don't understand. Everybody knows Metallica, bro. And for those of them that don't, then it's the same thing with Kendrick Lamar because I'm going to be honest. I knew... I'm drawing a blank right now. It's Not Like Us, right? That's it. It's literally the only song I knew. I didn't know any other song. So that's just why I'm saying it's like every year I kind of critique it, even though I actually loved the one with Eminem and 50 Cent. I love that one. Because I grew up on Eminem, 50 Cent. Now I can understand why some people did not like that because, they either don't listen to rap or whatever. You couldn't understand
that. That was the LA Super Bowl, right?
Yeah. That one I loved. I loved that one. Absolutely loved it because I grew up on Eminem. I grew up on 50 Cent. I think Snoop Dogg was there too, right?
Snoop Kendrick was also there.
See, I gotta be honest, I don't even remember that.
See what I mean?
I probably didn't even know who he was.
If you're not a fan of Kendrick, I get it. It doesn't resonate with you. It's just, that's ultimately what it comes down to. I don't really pay attention to who the Super Bowl performers were every year. I think Red Hot Chili Peppers performed one year.
They did. I remember
that was the MetLife Super Bowl. So that was like over 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was a while ago. That was at MetLife, right? Yeah. I remember that one. But yeah, that's just me. It's that I just feel like my music constantly, and it's not just Super Bowls, the Grammys, constantly gets put to the side when, bro, you've had, just give me one, bro. Like, give me one Super Bowl. Like, it's kind of like me trying to ask for the Jets to win a freaking Super Bowl. Just give me one halftime show at least, bro. Give me something I can fucking watch in the Super Bowl that I'm actually excited about. Just give me one. Once you give me one, I'll stop trashing the rest of the Super Bowls, and that's it. Give me one. Bro, AC/DC. Yo, these days,
but you're talking
now it's getting, I know what you're about to say. Now they're getting old, bro. Aang is young.
So is Metallica. They're not, I understand, but
they can still go.
You're talking about men in their 60s, man. And I understand they can still perform and they still tour.
Yeah.
But
see, but Metallica though, they can still give it to you.
What I'm trying to say is that while there are probably younger fans who are fans of their music like yourself or even people younger than you, I just think that the audience that they're trying to reach, that key demo that every advertiser is trying to reach of like 18 to 34, right? Like, those aren't the people listening to Metallica, I think.
See, now, here's another thing that I address is that when it comes to like the music, let's say Kendrick Lamar, right? People actually know, from what I would think, more AC/DC songs than they do Kendrick Lamar songs. The general population.
I mean, they'd probably recognize them, but...
Yeah. For example, like Thunderstruck, what's it called? TNT, Dirty Deeds. You're probably not going to know Dirty Deeds. But what's it called? Highway to Hell.
I'll be honest, like, I recognize some of those songs just because you've mentioned them to me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do know this song.
Hell's Bells.
Yeah.
The reason why people know these songs is they're played constantly at sporting events, TV, and all this other stuff. Like, for example, my kids. Bro, I played Thunderstruck in my gym for my kids, and they knew it. They were like, "Oh, Mister, I know this song. I heard it." They went to like a soccer game, we actually like this song. So like people like, I feel like with like Kendrick Lamar, I don't know how, but like I literally only knew one song, and like I'm always listening to like mainstream radio. Like, does he not get played on the radio?
Well, I mean, he played Humble. He played DNA.
Oh, so Humble I know because I played in my gym.
He brought out SZA. Like, he played a lot of songs. And I think a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the songs and tracks that he played were from his most recent album. So, again, if you weren't listening to his most recent album, I understand why that's what a lot of people were feeling. And
I actually saw... Are you a fan of him doing that, or would you rather if you heard his old stuff?
I mean... I can see like the appeal of like wanting to hear other stuff. It's funny because from Good Kid, Mad City, which dropped 2012, 2013, he had a song on there with Drake that was pretty popular, and so it's, you didn't hear anything from that album. You didn't hear anything from Section 80. I don't remember off the top of my head if I heard anything from To Pimp a Butterfly. I heard a couple songs from Damn. So it just, I don't know. I like his music, so for me it was fine, but. I'm not the one who makes those
So his
decisions.
album was that good that you actually were cool with that?
I mean, I'm not sitting here like ranking Super Bowl performances or like,
I know.
like they're gonna perform like Rihanna performed a couple years ago or last year. I don't know when it was. Like, I don't know. I just think too much of a big deal is made about it. Like, it's 15 minutes, we see it, and then move on. Like,
I understand that, but like. As a fan sitting there and listening to it, like, you thought it was a good show, him doing that?
Yeah, I liked a lot of it. I
Interesting.
I like Samuel L. Jackson playing Uncle Sam, and especially like, just knowing some of the roles that Samuel L. Jackson has played himself. I like the dancers. I liked his concepts, and again, like the Super Bowl performance, it's 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, some years I like it, some years I don't, and I don't spend a lot of time thinking about it beyond that.
Wow. Okay. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I guess I'm a harsher critique when it comes to like music I'm listening to.
Yeah.
Because if, let's say, which they'll never do, but let's say like a band that I like called I Prevail, right? Love I Prevail. Okay, this guy's actually went to an I Prevail. This guy actually went to an I Prevail show with me, and the freaking guy crowd surfed. I told him he had to go, and I was like, the only way you could get out is if you crowd surf onto the stage. This freaking crazy guy crowd surfed onto the freaking stage, bro.
I had to leave.
Hilarious.
That was the easiest way to get out from that mob.
But we went to an I Prevail. So I Prevail is one of my favorite bands. Let's say they performed in the Super Bowl, and their new album, that's all they played, I would have been pissed. I would have been trashing it like I'm trashing Kendrick Lamar. I would have been so furious because I love a lot of the bands that I listen to, their older stuff is what I resonate with. It's what I love. So again, yeah, you're right. 15 minutes, whatever. But I would sit here and be like, just wasn't the I Prevail show. It wasn't the I Prevail halftime show that I wanted.
And I guess I'll back you up on this, is that I'm not a big concert goer. I don't really go to concerts, so your experience is different from mine. Whereas, like, my music experience is just going to work or listening on the train to whatever album. So, like, those are really my music experience. Like, I'm not a big music festival guy. I don't really like crowds. And So I totally understand why you feel that way.
I
I get it.
definitely, I definitely am.
I get it.
I definitely am. I've crowd surfed in Metallica, bro. I crowd surfed. Oh my god, in Ohio, bro. I crowd surfed. Greatest. That was when I have kids, right? The kids is gonna be above that, right? Yeah. Jess is upstairs, bro. All right. I got married. I think that crowd surfing to Metallica is going to be second, and my marriage is. It's going to be. Yo, that shit was so dope. In a crowd of like 100,000 people, like a wave, crowd surfing towards Metallica while they played freaking Enter Sandman, Billy Wagner style. Crowd surfing. Amazing. But yes, I am a concert goer. And one of the concerts that we went to, and Nikki refuses to go see this band live ever again, even though I still love them. And yes, we left there like, what the fuck was that? We went to go see Iron Maiden in concert. Love Iron Maiden. They have so many hits, bro. Think about a band or a rapper you listen to that just has hits after hits, bangers after bangers. Then they came out with a new album that nobody really listens to. And you went to the show, and that was all they played. I was pissed, bro. I was furious. Like, dude, I was so mad, bro, leaving that show. And
I think, before we move on, the final thing I'll say is, like, for these artists, for these musicians, like, they sometimes want to do their own thing and kind of show that they have more to offer, and I can understand that, too. You don't want to be known for just your hits, right? I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm not.
You're trying to broaden the music. You're trying to make more people listen to your new songs. I understand
that.
Now,
had Kendrick done the whole performance without doing Not Like Us, I think the stadium might have, like, rioted.
Yeah, but you know what else I feel like was a little corny about the whole thing? I felt like the whole performance was like a lead up to like kind of like, all right, fuck you, Drake. That's what I felt like. I felt like you're here at the halftime show. Now I know Kendrick doesn't need the publicity. He doesn't need the high antics because, bro, this dude's huge. I know he's huge. I hear his name all the time. I just felt like the whole thing was kind of like a lead up, and then you had Serena Williams. I know that's his ex, just to be like, all right, Drake, fuck you, like live on TV in the Super Bowl because you know Drake is watching it. So that's just how I felt.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about the beef, but I get it. Like, and I agree with you. It seemed like that was something that was leading up to. He teased it a little in the beginning, and then finally at the end. So, yeah, I get it.
All right, let's move into the NBA.
Oh, fun.
All right, let's move into the NBA. I want to talk about the trade deadline.
Trade deadline, okay.
So what do you feel about the Luka trade? And
the Luka trade is a trade we're going to be talking about for the rest of our lives. No matter what happens in Luka's career, it's always going to be talked about how he was traded from Dallas for Anthony Davis. I saw a lot of people trying to compare it to Mookie Betts getting traded. I think they're totally different situations.
They're way different situations.
Baseball not being a salaried cap sport, and the owners not wanting to pay him or thinking they could win with him, et cetera, whatever. I think the Luka deal is it's going to be hard for Dallas to come back from it. I don't see. I mean, yeah, they'll probably make the playoffs, but I don't see how they can win without him moving forward. I don't know. I don't see a good reason for why that deal was made. They can talk about his conditioning. They can talk about the Supermax contract. You traded a 25-year-old who just took you to the finals. Like it's hard for me to rationalize that deal. And as someone who has Luka on his fantasy team, I'm heartbroken. I don't think he's going to put up the numbers the rest of the season on the Lakers that he was putting up on Dallas. I think playing with LeBron is a whole different monster. But also, how does the league just allow a deal like that to go through? Of course the Lakers are going to get their young superstar. Like, come on. What are we doing? It's mind-boggling, honestly. That's like, oh my God. More than 10 years ago, the NBA stopped a trade from Chris Paul going to Los Angeles, right? The Lakers. He ended up with the Clippers of all teams, ironically enough. And this deal, especially the return package, Anthony Davis, who Hall of Famer in his own right, great defender, but he's an injury-prone guy. You want to talk about Luka's conditioning. How many years has Anthony Davis been able to play 82?
Agreed.
So I don't know. It's one of those deals that you just wonder what Dallas was thinking. There has to be ulterior motives. Like, I don't think it can only be a basketball decision. Whether that is, there's rumors about them trying to move the team to Vegas or get more money or get a casino down in Dallas approved. Whatever the deal, whatever the rumors are, like, there's no way you can justify that from a purely basketball perspective.
So that's what I was going to bring up. I was gonna bring up that whole Vegas thing because I've seen that. I think her name is Dumont, right, or around there. Dumont.
Yeah.
That's the owner. I think we have a real life major league situation on our hands. Yo, we got a major league situation on our hands. She's trying to sabotage the team so they can move to Vegas because gambling is not legal in Texas, and supposedly they own a casino. I think the Sands in Vegas, right? We might have a real major league situation on their hands. They need to figure that out. They need to look into that because if that's true, you can't be doing this. Like I never thought that would be a realistic thing, but why would they do that trade? I just don't understand. Like
I don't even think you can process that trade in NBA 2K. I don't think the computer would let you.
Agree. Like like our fantasy league, bro. I don't even think you would process that in fantasy. You know what I mean? Like somebody makes that trade in fantasy. That's my fantasy commissioner right there, sitting in front of me too. That's the funny part. This guy's gonna veto it, and the funny part is, right now in football we do a dynasty, but let's say it's not a dynasty. You're probably still vetoing it, and a big thing with it also in real life time is that, bro, one is 25 and the other is what, plus 30?
32.
32? Like, this doesn't make any sense. You know, he's your superstar. Yeah. That's your young star. That's your golden child. That's what the team is built around. I saw that in Dallas, everywhere around. Luka, all the way around. And that's the dude you just traded for freaking Anthony Davis. In my opinion, if they would have went to other teams, they would have got so much more than Anthony Davis.
Yeah, it was a little weird that they didn't open up the bidding to other teams. Like, if the purpose was to get as much as you can in return, like, why wouldn't you make Luka known, like, available to the whole league? That's another thing that doesn't really make sense to me, you know? I think back a little bit when it comes to, like, trading a young star and stuff. Like, in basketball, you don't see something like this happen very often, you know? Like, you know, SGA was traded from the Clippers to Oklahoma City for Paul George a couple years ago, but SGA, you know, Shea wasn't the player he is now. And he's probably one of the top players in basketball right now. It's just unheard of to have a deal like this happen. And oh man, again, it's one of those things that has literally left me at a loss for words. I don't know what to say about it. Like, I just can't imagine something like that happening. Like, for the first time in my life, the Knicks are a legitimately good team. Not having a fluky season, but they're a legitimately good team. And basketball is, like, in the upside down right now. Like, their ratings are down. People are complaining about all the three-point shooting, the lack of defense. Valid critiques in their own right. But it's like, now that the Knicks are good, basketball is, like, slowly sinking, and who knows what's going to happen this year, you know?
You think the Knicks got a shot?
It'll be hard to get past the Celtics, man. They're really good. I know right now the Cavs are number one, but I mean, the Knicks disposed of the Cavs a couple years ago. They're a better team than they are, but it's hard to knock off the champ, you know? It's hard to knock off the champ.
Yeah, in a series, I think the Celtics are going to be really hard. For example, they played the Knicks. The last time they played the Knicks, they didn't even have Porzingis playing, and they smoked them.
The depth that they have on that team is incredible. Yeah,
I do think that the Knicks have a lot of heart, though. You know, Josh Hart style. I think they have a lot of heart on that team.
Now they have
that can't be overlooked.
Chemistry.
Yeah, chemistry. And and again, I'm not even the biggest basketball person, but I started watching basketball because of Jalen Brunson. I think that kid is incredible. He reminds me of Francisco Lindor basketball style. Like,
shout out to the big bodega. Come on, man.
Bro.
Karl Anthony Towns, he completely changed the team.
Yeah, agreed. I agree. He's been amazing as well. But I absolutely love Jalen Brunson. I started watching the Knicks because of him last year. I think the way he presents himself, the way he talks to the media, and the kind of leadership he has, I just think that it changed the team starting from last year. But yes, Karl Anthony Towns has been awesome as well. And, you know, without him, the Knicks are not going to be doing what they're doing either.
Don't forget about the big discount JB took on his extension. Left over $100 million on the table, Jalen Brunson. That's what a good leader does. He's rich no matter what. I know a lot of people are probably crazy to think to leave that kind of money on the table, but in a salary cap sport, he's trying to help his guys also get paid. I don't know. Maybe like I'm one of those crazy people that thinks that there's such thing as enough money. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't need a lot to live, man.
I agree. Yeah, at a certain point, that's kind of what Shohei Ohtani did when he only took $2 million and was like, oh, I'll get the rest later.
I mean, I don't know if that's the same thing because he's still going to get his money.
but,
you know, players take discount all the time. Like, you know who didn't take a discount, though? Bregman. That was a crazy deal that he signed with the Red Sox. $40 million. The guy's making the equivalent of Aaron Judge.
Yeah, that was crazy. I kept saying I thought the Yankees should have went after Bregman, but once I saw that deal, I was like, all right, that deal's out of control. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of people really see Bregman as that type of player. I mean, he wasn't even the best player on his team, right? Like, you had Alvarez
Yeah, but he had a
there,
good team.
Kyle Tucker, of course, but
Yeah.
if we're talking about, like, maybe the fourth best player now making more than all those guys. The guy's making as much as Judge, a two-time AL MVP. Like, that's just not the type of player Bregman is. Solid player, but if he's going to be making $40 million a year, kudos to him. And the Red Sox were paying that bill. You'll pay Bregman $40 million, but you won't pay Mookie $37, whatever it is.
I don't even know what to make of that. But when it comes to Bregman, I think he's going to help. He's definitely going to help the team, and I think that the Red Sox are going to be an underrated team. I think they're coming up. I actually think that they're coming up. I think that's a team that you need to look out for because, like, you already know. The AL fucking sucks, bro. The AL's horrible.
Yeah, but you don't know how the year is going to turn out, though. Like, that's the other thing. The AL did have a down year, I guess, when it came time to the playoffs. But early in the year, we were talking about how bad the NL was, and then things turned around. It's like, so you don't know how the year is going to work out, who's going to get hurt, who's going to play better. I do agree, though, that I think the Red Sox are going to be pretty good. They have a young pitching staff. They traded for Crochet from the White Sox. I think people forgot Giolito's also coming back. They signed Buehler. They have the two young guys from last year, Cutter Crawford, and they have Houck, I think is his name.
Yeah, Houck, yeah.
They have a really great, solid team. They also signed Chapman, I'm pretty sure, to close. So, and the lineup. I mean, so what's going to happen with Devers? Is he going to first base? Is Casas going to the outfield? Or is he
That's what I was going to
DH?
mention.
So, they have some things they probably need to work out.
They're probably going to put him to first.
But no, actually, what Passan tweeted was that Bregman is going to be playing second base.
What?
Yeah, that's what Passan tweeted. So, we'll see how that goes. I think they got Rafaela as shortstop. I'm pretty sure based on last year. But Passan tweeted that Bregman is on the Red Sox to play second base. The $40 million a year second baseman.
I find that freaking insane, bro. I didn't see that.
Yeah, no. He tweeted that their plan was to have him play second base, and half his salary, I think, is deferred. So he's making $20 million
Bregman's a pretty good defender.
Yeah, at third.
Yeah, exactly. So why would they... That doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm pretty sure he came up as a shortstop before moving to third base for Correa, but...
Okay, if he's a really good shortstop and that's where you feel like you want to put him, okay, but second base, just...
he also had one of his probably lesser productive years. I think his on-base percentage was like .315. That's not really normal for him.
Yeah.
It's a little scary if it continues to trend in that direction, but I think he'll be a solid option for them coming this year. I think the Red Sox in general are going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think they were going to be... I think they're coming up. I think they're going to be one of those AL teams that can sneak in there. Dude, the Detroit Tigers... went on that run last year. They made the playoffs. I still, to this day, don't think they're that good. I just think they were in a really trash league.
Yeah, but they have solid pitching.
Well, yeah. You got Scooble. He's the best. He's
not just him. They also got Green in the outfield. They have a couple of good players on their pitching staff, like I mentioned, and everybody keeps forgetting about it. They completely sent Baez to like the underground. I don't know where Baez is. That guy is not even a part of that team anymore.
Sucks, bro. Come on, he's horrible.
No, and it is what it is. Like he got paid, and I remember there were a couple people in our group chat who wanted him back on the Mets. I was like, no way, man.
Bro, we gave up Pete Crow Armstrong.
It is what
Baez.
it is, man. It's time to move on.
Yeah.
Nothing we can do. I like PCA. I wanted him to be on the Mets, but
God, it's horrible.
They made their decision. They made their bed. Now they got to live with it.
It's freaking trash, bro.
No, but in terms of the AL East, like when you break down the teams, I really think that division is going to be a dogfight. Like at least in the National League East, we have the Marlins, who you can kind of beat up on, even though the Mets struggle to do that. But the Marlins are at least a team that many can argue aren't even trying to win, right? But in the AL East, that the Rays, they have their entire rotation coming back healthy. Says Shane O'Mac, that's what I'm going to call McClanahan. He's coming back, right? He missed all of last year.
Shane O'Mac.
He missed all of last year, and he's coming back. I think people are forgetting that, and that dude is a stud.
Yeah, he's great.
Right? In Tampa Bay, you can always count on them to hover around 500 and get these outlier performances from guys. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays, it's unfortunate that the Blue Jays continue to finish second for every prize free agent, but they're going to have a pretty solid defense, between their shortstop, Bo, and they got Andres Jimenez for second base. Their outfield is a pretty good defensive outfielder. They have one of the best defenders in baseball. What's his name? Varsho, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to get from Springer. I don't know what they're going to get out of him or, But they're gonna be a tough out. That rotation is still pretty solid. They got Barrios, Gosman. They added Scherzer. They still have a pretty solid rotation. The Yankees are the Yankees. They're gonna be there at the end. They have the best player in baseball. Until Ohtani comes back to pitching. Judge is incredible. I think their defense is going to be pretty solid. They have a huge hole at third base. They have a lot of question marks about players like Dominguez in left. Is Wells going to perform? At which Wells are they going to get? He had a pretty up and down year. Great August. Took a hit ball to the hand. Pretty bad September in playoffs. So good defender though. I like that kid. I'm not a big believer in Goldie at all. I think that's a Band-Aid, and they're hoping to replace first baseman next year, but I don't think Goldie's going to be good for them. He'll play some solid defense maybe and hit a couple bombs, and he'll be better than Rizzo, unfortunately. I think Rizzo, his career is probably done at this point. But the AL East is going to be good. It's going to be a good battle. And obviously, I haven't even mentioned the Orioles. Who knows what they're doing with that rotation, but that lineup is pretty good.
So a good dogfight, you mean like good in the standings, or you mean like they're all around the mid-80s?
No, I think that it's going to be a good division. Like, it's hard to say that. I do think that the Yankees are the favorite. They won it last year, and that pitching staff is pretty good. However, I think that it's going to be a solid 3-team race. Like, whether that team is going to be the Orioles, Yankees, Red Sox, or the Rays make another jump at it, I don't know, but I think 3 teams will be fighting for that division. I think it's going to be a really good division, kind of like the NL East, where it's going to be 3 teams also fighting. I think Washington has some good young players. I don't think they'll compete.
Yeah, they're coming up. I don't think they're gonna be there yet, but
yeah.
they're not gonna be as bad as people think. I agree.
No, yeah, they have a pretty solid core. We'll see what happens with their shortstop Abrams after they sent him home last year with like a week left in the season. Hopefully he's able to bounce back from that. But I think it's going to be a fun year for baseball in New York, honestly. Last time I thought that things didn't go so well, but I think
both New York teams are going to be great in baseball. We have the Mets, we have the Yankees. I think New York in general is up and coming now with sports. We went through such a drought with New York teams. It was crazy.
No, I don't think you can say that as long as our football teams are still as trash as
I
they
was
are.
just about to get there. Again, I think New York is up and coming. Even in hockey, the Rangers. I know they're not having great years, but as of late, even the Rangers and the Islanders haven't been playing bad. Even though they're not having a good year.
Just also came out from a run to the conference finals. So
yeah, exactly. But in football, kind of washes it all away because our football teams are so freaking terrible. But other than football, like put football to the side, but we don't need to talk about that. Everything else, I feel like New York is up and coming, and I think baseball is like the premier league of freaking of New York sports right now. Because even in basketball, you got the Knicks who are playing great right now, but then you got the Nets, and they're kind of like
Nets are they're on a bit of a run. They went on a bit of a run going into the All-Star break, so they made a couple good trades. They have D'Lo, they bought out Ben Simmons, which was long overdue. We'll see how they do, but to your point, football definitely washes all that away.
Yeah, it washes it away. But let's go to the Marlins real quick because you were talking about the NL East and you were talking about the Marlins. As bad as I think Dallas is trying to, sabotage whatever they're doing over there, because I just cannot get over that trade, the Marlins really needs to be looked at. That team needs to be studied. That team needs to be looked at because I don't know what that owner's doing because that owner ain't trying to win. He's not trying to win. How much money did they put in this year? Like, how much did they spend?
No, yeah, I've seen some numbers that they haven't even signed like a major or like $1 million.
Did they spend anything yet? Because we were like in December and they said they spent $0. Like, did they break the bank yet to anybody? At least like $1 million?
I mean, I think the Marlins, to be fair, are in an unfortunate position where they're in a division with the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets, and even Washington. Like, teams that have had varying success over the last 10 years have been shown a willingness to spend. You and I have both been to games in Miami. That stadium is pretty nice, but there's almost no one ever there. I remember going to a Rockies game, and I was doing some heckling, and I'm pretty sure the players could hear me. It's just one of those stadiums where, unfortunately, the fans don't show up, whether that's because the Marlins aren't a product worth watching or because of just the nature of living in Miami. I'm not sure. Same thing could be said about the Rays, At least the Rays, though, they have their own way of running things where they can be competitive, but people don't show up. I don't know what the answer to that is, but I'll tell you, the Marlins have no business having a payroll under $100 million. Like, it's Any team that has a payroll under $100 million is robbing their fans, all across, and is robbing other teams because all these low payroll teams, they're receiving money from other teams. Like every team gets parts of the national team deals and things like that, and it's like you have to put that money back into the team. But
it's funny that you say they don't show up, because I have a video when I was in Miami screaming, "Let's go, Mads! Let's go!" And I think Reyes was on the team, so I was like, "Jose, Jose, Jose!" screaming, and you can hear an echo. Like, that's how crazy it is.
Yeah.
You can hear, and you see people behind me just looking at me, and you could hear the echo of my voice.
I mean, sometimes you listen to the games and you hear people shouting stuff.
And I remember it was 06. It was 06.
Like 20 years ago, but
That's a long time ago. No, but this wasn't the Marlins. The Marlins was 2016 because it was right before. I think it was right before Jose Fernandez died. I think. Yeah, I think it was right before that when I was in Miami. But I was in Tampa Bay in 06, and there might have been an attendance of like 200. Like, it was crazy. Like, every row was just, we caught like 4 balls because every foul ball, you just run to the ball, you go get it, you grab it.
Yeah.
But there was a lady behind us that I think they were serious because she looked so serious when she said it. But there was a lady behind us, and she was talking to her husband, and she was saying, "Wow, what a great attendance today." And the guy was like, "That's because Scott Kazmir's pitching."
That was a while ago.
It was a while ago, yeah. But I was like looking back, and I'm like, "You guys think this is a good attendance?" And she goes, "Yeah, there's, Kazmir's pitching," but I was like, "Look at the seats. There's nobody here."
We've seen Citi Field get that empty before.
Yeah, we've seen that, but I wouldn't say it's a good attendance. I'll be like, this is shit.
It's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, but I told her, I was like, yeah, damn, I guess in New York we see attendance differently because, yes, I've seen Citi Field, I've seen Shea Stadium get that empty, but I wouldn't say, oh, this is a great attendance. I'll say, damn, like, this place is freaking, kind of like how the Mets were in the beginning of last year.
Ghost Town, baby.
Crickets.
Ghost Town.
Crickets. But yeah, I'm looking forward to baseball. I'm excited. I can't wait. And, like I told you in the beginning of the show, I got the human encyclopedia here. So I kind of want to play a game with you right now.
Let's do it.
All right, let's play a game.
Hope I don't disappoint.
You're going to look at stats, and you're going to have to guess the player from the stats.
Baseball?
Yes.
Oh, boy. New York players or
everything.
MLB? Oh, boy.
Everything.
Okay.
All right, so the first one.
This is your boy.
Who is
Come on,
it?
I know it's your boy.
Who is it?
Come on, man. That's Mr. San Diego.
That was quick, bro.
But that's an easy one.
All right, I said it's going to get easier to harder.
Tony Gwynn.
I said it was going to get
That's
easier to
Mr.
harder.
San
You're right.
Diego.
You're right. He's right.
He loves him. He loves himself a good slap hitter.
Yeah. All right, come on, bro. Come on. We can't get on. You can't come on a podcast right now. Call Tony Gwynn a slap hitter.
You know what? I'm gonna be respectful of the dead. R.I.P. Tony Gwynn, great hitter. That's it.
So hold on a second. Before we get to the next one, I gotta sell this. Before we get to the next one, if he was alive, whatever he's whatever.
Well, if he's alive, I'd treat him like Ichiro.
Oh, that's not a disappointment.
I don't.
What?
I think that I'd start a team. If I had to start a team, I wouldn't really use one of those two guys.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man. I like my guys to have a little more power. Like Miguel Cabrera, someone like that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
but you
Vladimir
always need that
Guerrero.
type of table setter.
Yeah, I'll take Ricky.
Oh, wait a minute. You'll take Ricky over Tony Gwynn?
You say we need a table setter. I'm gonna get the guy that with a walk or a single ends up on third. Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, who's next?
All right,
let's go, man.
Let's go. Let's go. I don't know. That's crazy to me. All right, I told you it's getting easier or harder.
Okay.
All right.
Number 2. This is easy though. First baseman. Signed with the Yankees when they won that World Series. Yeah. I never really liked him as a person. He seems like a jerk, but that's Mark Teixeira.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
2 for 2. All right.
For the record, with the Tony Gwynn thing, I wasn't watching baseball when he was playing. That was a little harder to do. This one is gonna be a little harder. Let me look at some of these. Look at some of these home runs. Who played for the Cleveland? Lofton?
Yeah. Shit. All right. 3 for 3. Now it gets harder.
That one was hard. I didn't even remember he played for the Yankees.
Now it gets harder. Now it gets harder.
He said he's doing 6, so if I only get the first 3, I'm batting 500, and that's an all-star. Marlins? Oh, this is easy now. Marlins in Colorado, I know who it is. Great bunter. Helped the Yankees lose that World Series. You know what I remember about Juan Pierre is they did this segment growing up about how he used to go out early before batting practice and he would roll the ball up the third base line to see how the ball was rolling. That's pretty good.
All right.
Pretty good.
All right. He's doing much better than I thought. All right.
This is probably where I'm going to fall off.
This one is much harder than the rest of them. Don't tell me you're going to get this one,
20 years ago. I probably won't. Can we get a recent player?
This guy's not... I mean, he finished during... He pretty much played mostly during the time you've been watching baseball.
Yeah.
All right, let's see.
Oh, this is easy. Atlanta to the Dodgers? That's a shortstop. Switch hitter, short guy for Cal. Atlanta to the Dodgers is an easy one.
What?
Yeah. For Cal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That
this guy's not even taking... This guy's... All right, yo, fuck.
So he's giving me a list of teams they played for. It's pretty easy to figure it out from the teams.
Fuck this. Hold on a second. That's not that easy, though.
No, but like that for Cal, I remember that. I'm pretty sure... Yeah. That one was pretty easy.
Come on.
2009. All right. Oh, so he played with the Mets in 03. Oh, I think I know who this is.
What? No, you don't.
He ended with Arizona. Yeah. Switch hitter. Pretty sure he's the head of the baseball union right now, right? Tony Clark? Right? Am I right?
You are right. There's no way.
He went from the Mets to the Yankees.
There's no way you got Tony Clark.
He went from the Mets to the Yankees, 03 to 04.
Stumping this guy. No, this is stump the swab type shit.
All right.
Hold on.
If you give me a guy that played on a team that I grew up watching, like the Braves, just because they faced the Mets a lot, I'm going to pretty much... it's going to be easier to guess.
What? Yo.
Lofton was hard. Kenny Lofton was hard.
There's no way.
I didn't even remember he played on the Yankees, to be honest.
Hold on a second, bro. Nah, hell nah, bro. I'm stumping you before we stop. There's no way. There is no way, bro. There's no way he's going to get this.
All right. Put a phone on the table. Let me see.
No freaking way.
2011.
It was for a division team that against the Mets division team, but there's no way he's getting this.
Philadelphia to Tampa Bay. Was he an outfielder? Burrow? Right?
Bro, there's no way you got it from Philadelphia to Tampa Bay.
No, yeah, he left Philadelphia to go to Tampa Bay. I remember that.
How many people have done that?
I don't know, but again, if you put a player that has played against the Mets, it's gonna be easy for me to. If you put a player from like Kenny Lofton was the hardest one because I don't really watch. The only reason why I went with him is because he played with Cleveland all those years, and I was just like, and they had like 130 home runs. That was the only reason why I went with him. I would have never guessed that any other player. Teixeira played for the Yankees. That's an easy one.
See, that was in the beginning, though. The beginning, I knew. I gave you like 2 to 3. That was like, all right, they're going to be easy.
After that, Clark also.
For Kyle, bro, I didn't think you were I wouldn't have got for Kyle.
For Kyle,
I'll tell you right now.
He had a nasty arm. Crazy arm. Like, he would gun it across. And I remember when he left the Braves, I was so happy. So happy he left the Braves.
That is so crazy, bro. Human encyclopedia, this guy.
Just with the Mets and teams that they've played. Pat Burrow was a good one, though.
Yeah, Pat Burrow
was a good one.
Bro, there's no way. It just said Philly, Tampa Bay. Okay, you went from Philly to Tampa Bay, but like...
No, but with, like, even back to for Kyle, like, the thing, like, the Mets ended the Braves, like, streak of winning the NL East.
Okay, 06, okay.
Right, exactly. And I'm pretty sure that when part of that happening was for Kyle leaving the Braves. And I'm just like, yes, finally he leaves the Braves. Who else was on those Braves teams that I hated? Javi Lopez, the catcher, right? He had like one crazy year. We had like 40 home runs.
Yeah.
They also had J.D. Drew. I think they had Mark Teixeira before he went to the Angels. Like the Braves had a lot of players. Like I'm probably messing up the years there, but no.
Crazy.
Hey man, Mets ended that consecutive NL East title. They had like 18 in a row, whatever it was, and the Mets ended it, and that was 06 with the Reyes and David Wright teams.
I knew it was gonna be hard to stump this guy. That's why I was giving him names like Rafa Furcal, who are like during that time was a really, really popular known player, but kind of forgotten about.
Again, like the hardest one to guess from that list was Kenny Lofton because he didn't play in the East or very little with the Yankees and all that stuff. And the only reason why I got him is because I remember him being part of those crazy Indian, now Guardian teams, the Cleveland teams. They had Alomar. They had, they had both Alomars, actually, Sandy and Roberto, I'm pretty sure, right? So, I don't know. Just that was that one, I guess, probably more than the others. But he didn't play in the East, so...
So it's just anybody ever playing the East. No, everything about these guys.
That was luck, man. That was luck. It was some luck involved.
Because again, I'm involved in the East, but I feel like I don't know.
No, but Furcal was a memorable player. Like Furcal had a cannon from shortstop.
Oh, he was great. And
I used to think Reyes had it on, but I remember that dude. He would just get it across the infield. Who else? Like Teixeira, well, that was easy because he went from the Angels, I think, to the Yankees.
Like, were you even looking at the stolen bases? Because I thought that's what you were gonna get it from.
For Lofton?
Yes.
For Lofton, what I did was I looked at the teams and the home runs. Because then that would tell
didn't
me.
Look at the stolen bases.
No.
Because I thought that's what you're gonna look at. Cleveland stolen bases, bam, Kenny Lofton.
It wouldn't have, because that wouldn't have resonated with me. What I was thinking of was the teams that they played for and then what type of player they were. Once I saw 130 home runs or whatever it was, I was like, all right, that's like a leadoff hitter. Because 90s baseball, that screams leadoff.
Yeah. You're right.
And I just did it by teams. Okay. I had no idea that guy played on the Yankees. I completely forgot about that.
Next time I do that game with him, I will make sure that not one player has ever played in their history, not even for a minor league team.
No, if you had,
in the NL East.
If you had genuinely done teams that players that specifically stayed in the West, AL, NL, or something, it'd be hard for me to genuinely know who those guys are.
I know this.
Yeah, JD Drew, right? He played. He went from the Cardinals, I think, to the Braves, to the Dodgers, Red Sox, right? That guy I pretty much know a little bit about, but he ended up playing a little bit in the East. That matters.
Yeah, so I know this for next time. Okay. What do you think the Mets chances are this year? Getting Soto.
I used to be one of those people that used to say, man, you got to try to win the division. Man, just get in. Get into the playoffs. Whatever happens, happens.
Well, yeah, now when we have, half the league making it.
But even, before then, I used to think, even when it was, that one-game wild card team, I was always just get into the playoffs, anything can happen. Not even because of baseball, just because I saw the Giants win 2 Super Bowls that I thought they had no chance of winning. Mm-hmm. One was as a wild card team, one was as a division winner. But my general point is, just get in. You never know what will happen. So that's my first thought. My second thought is I think Philly's older. I think they showed last year in the second half that they were closer to a 500 team, even with that rotation, to be honest. They got off to that great start, but then afterwards they basically played 500 ball, I think, after middle of June on. The Braves, I think, are going to be a problem. I think the one thing with the Braves that kind of works in our favor is they got a couple of guys coming back from injury that I think might take them a while. First one is Strider, obviously, and the second one is Acuna. Now, with Acuna, animal beast, obviously, great player, probably top 3 when he's fully healthy in terms of what he can do. But you saw what happened when he came back from the ACL injury the first time. Watching enough football, you always hear about guys talking about how it's that second year where you really feel like yourself. And so I think that's going to be a big difference there. But I do think that people are completely forgetting about how good the Braves can be. You know what I mean? They lost Fried and they lost Charlie Morton, but, they got Schwellenbach. That kid... It just seems like they just continue to produce these pitchers that just continue to shove it down the Mets' throats. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So I think the Braves are a serious threat. I don't know why. Maybe I'm delusional because we beat Philly in the playoffs. I don't know why, but I just think that Philly has a team that they had their window, and they went to back-to-back LCSs. They went to a World Series, but I think they're closing that core of Schwarber, Harper, and they still have Turner for 8-9 more years. But even Real Muto, people can talk about Real Muto, hands down one of the best catchers in baseball, but look at his numbers last 2 years. Alvarez Alvarez did not have what I think are great years, but Alvarez is not too far from him offensively, and that would be almost ridiculous to say 2 years ago even. So I think Philadelphia is going to take a step back. I do. I think the only real improvement that they made, I think they added Luzardo to their rotation. That rotation was always going to be good. They still have Sanchez coming back. They got Suarez, obviously Nola and Wheeler. But then bullpen, they also lost Hoffman. They lost Estevez. So, their bullpen is going to be shaky as well. I'm confident in the Mets bullpen. I like Minter. Obviously, he's coming back from his hip issue. I think Diaz with a full off season, not having to rehab, is going to be even better than he was last year. I mean, look what he did in the playoffs from August on. He had the highest K rate in baseball. And look what he did to the Dodgers, right? They didn't score any runs against him. He went through the top of the order 3 times, I think, in that series. I'm pretty confident in the bullpen. It's also one of Stearns' strengths as a GM. He's always good at finding these no names. He did it in Milwaukee all those years. I think he's bringing that over to the Mets. I'm really happy about the Mets. I think the one thing that I'm really worried about is their defense. You know how I feel about Pete. You know how I feel about Vientos. The corners scare me a little bit. I think Nemo coming back from that injury. We'll see. He had that foot plantar fasciitis. See how he recovers from it. Nemo also had probably one of his down years last year, one of his worst years. He was hitting the ball hard. Maybe it was bad luck. We'll see what comes of it this year.
That's baseball.
Yeah, exactly. So I think their defense might worry me a little bit. And you know how I feel about defense. I think your defense should always be top notch. But 2 things that they do have going for them is their defense up the middle. I think Lindor, Siri, and whoever plays second base, whether it's Jeff or Acuna, not the good Acuna, or Acuna, Luis Angel. So whoever plays second base, I think that defense up the middle will be good. Alvi does a lot of good things, but he needs to improve his throwing and his decision making. He sometimes I love his confidence. I do. I love that. And I think baseball, more so than any sport, you need confidence. Call it false confidence, false pride. It doesn't matter. You always have to think or know you're going to succeed. Whether you do or not is irrelevant.
So you like his comments about being better than the Dodgers offensively?
People will say yes, I do. I don't agree with him, but I do like his confidence. And I also think it's a lot closer than people think. I do. Dodgers, hands down, between Freeman, Ohtani, and Betts, what a trio. Great. But they have a lot, whether it's Teoscar Hernandez, okay, he had a bounce-back year, but a couple years ago in Seattle, he didn't have the best year. We'll see if he can replicate that. Good player, though. I'm not taking anything away from him. Conforto, we know what Conforto is, He's not this great guy either. They have Edman in center field, I think, is what their plan is, or Pajes, whatever. Neither of those guys are really good hitters. Edman had a great playoff series, but that guy's a 700 OPS bat his entire career. He's a solid baseball player, but he's not that star. I don't know. I think also their third base. What they got at third base, Muncy.
Yeah. Muncy scares me.
He's a good player, but
there's
is
something
he that
about
much better than Vientos?
Yeah, I'm just saying as us facing Muncy scares me.
No, yeah.
I think Vientos is going to be eventually a better player, but I still need to see a sophomore year from him.
Oh, for sure. We've seen enough baseball where a guy has a great first year and then that second year, takes
once
a step back.
pitchers start figuring him out, that's when I need to start looking and saying, all right, now this is who Vientos is. Now, everything I saw from this man last year, I loved, especially the number one thing out of everything I saw from Vientos that I loved was that he was able to hit in the postseason. Guy, he had a record for RBIs in the postseason, his first postseason. Granted, we're not in the postseason that often. But that's, we know that. But he had a great postseason, and the only thing that he needs to work on, in my opinion, he needs to stride in, he needs to get better in, is, you said it, his defense. He scared the shit out of me in the playoffs. Every time there was a ground ball, I felt like there was bobbles.
How I feel about him and Pete. You know how I feel about him and Pete. Anytime a ball is hit there, I'm just like...
See, the thing with Pete...
Oh, God.
I know you can't stand him, and I think a lot of it has to do with... He looks like Lucas Duda. Pete looks like Lucas Duda. You take a glance. You take a glance at Pete, it looks like Lucas Duda. Lucas Duda had one of the most PTSD type plays in our history, and we all remember it as Met fans, throwing the ball home, and God only knows where that throw went. I don't know if Chuck Knobloch did the Monstars on the ball and shit, and freaking.
But dude, I wish he could throw like Lucas Duda, and I don't mean accuracy wise. Lucas Duda had an arm. Yo, Pete lollipops. Yeah. He's gonna get Lindor killed at shortstop, man. You ever seen him try to turn that 1-6, the 3-6-3 double play, whatever it is? You know, he lobs the ball up to Lindor every time, dude. Like, I'm never gonna be comfortable with Pete throwing the ball. And if you look at Vientos, he had 2 games in the playoffs against Philly, back-to-back plays where the infield was in, or at least the corners were in. He was in at third, and he had a ground ball. And he bobbled both of them on a throw home, like. That happened. You see that maybe once in a season or so, but it happened to him in back-to-back games in the playoffs. I like Vientos as a great hitter. Great, first of all, the mentality that you have to get jerked around the way the Mets did between Buck 2 years ago and Epler, and then the way he kept losing battles to Beatty for some reason, even though Beatty hasn't shown anything.
Yeah.
So you have to love the way he was able to persevere through that, you know? But I don't think I'll ever be comfortable with him. I've seen him like just straight up a nice little chopper and he bobbles it. His range leaves a lot to be desired, but good arm, and you know you want to give him a chance. Like I'm open to give him a chance, but with Pete I've seen enough, bro. 6 years, I'm like holding my breath, and I hope it doesn't cost us an important game. I mean, look what happened in Milwaukee last year. Thank God Diaz, I think, was able to get out of it, if I remember correctly, when he dropped that pop up before the home run.
Yeah, he dropped the pop
up. Pete scares me every time he goes out for a pop-up. Every time he does that thing that I do his glove where he's like this. Yeah. He's like flapping it.
Yeah, he always flaps it.
And always I'm just like, Pete, come on, bro.
When it comes to Pete dropping that pop-up, I kept saying to myself, you know, this could be how his Met season... This is how it could be how his Met career ends.
I think everybody was thinking that.
Yeah.
It was like the 8th inning or something, like the bottom of the 8th inning, right?
Yeah, and he had a miserable postseason up until that point. Well, I mean, it was only a few games because it was the wild card. Horrible season, and the season in his contract year could end on a drop fly ball that he should have caught.
He also had that double play where he tripped over his bat. And I think it was probably the previous game.
He tripped over the bat.
He had a runner on third, and I'm like, well, at least we'll get one run in from here.
And he tripped. I remember that. Like, I was like, you know, I don't remember. It was like a really slow. Was it a slow? I just remember like saying to myself, like, oh, I think Pete has a chance to beat this out. And then when they threw the ball, you don't even see Pete.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, where'd he go? Where'd he go? And then he tripped over the bat, and it was just miserable. Like the postseason, from the season to the postseason was miserable, and then obviously he had the moment that we all could celebrate. But yeah, I see where you're coming from, Pete, when it comes to the defense. I do think he's made strides, though. I think he was worse when he first came up.
Oh, listen, man. My first experience with Pete was 2019 spring training. You guys can go look at this. The first game, maybe Ahmed was the shortstop, Rosario at the time. It was a spring training ground ball to Pete. He throws Ahmed or whoever was playing shortstop, throws it across the diamond, and Pete drops the ball. He dropped it straight up. It did not bounce, nothing. And I was like, oh, I guess this guy's a butcher like they say he is. But then in the bottom of the inning, he goes and like first or second pitch, he hits a tank. And I'm just like, to be able to forget that error and just be like, yeah, whatever, and then go and hit a tank that next at bat, I was like, oh man, this guy probably has something.
That's the epitome of what his career is.
So I'll give him credit for that. He has definitely made strides. He's, I know this has been beaten like a dead horse a million times. He's pretty good at scooping the ball. I'll give him credit for that. I also give him credit for the fact that, he does a good job of moving left, right. Well, actually, he does a better job moving left, right from when he first started. He had no range when he first started out. And now it's like, it's, I don't know, respectable, I guess. Like, but nah, man, it's just one of those things where you hope there's not a play that he needs to make one day because it would hurt. I can't see him getting better beyond this point. He's only going to get older, man.
Mets make the World Series. I can't react to this with a straight face.
Here we go.
Mets make the World Series 2025. Mets make the World Series this year. Playing the Yankees in the World Series 2025. Bases loaded. Mets are up by 1 run, 1 out. Mets are up by 1 run.
Who's batting?
I don't want to go with a speedster, so I'm not going to say Volpe. Yeah, because everything's fucked if that guy's running. Pete's gonna.
Is that too slow?
That's too slow because that's time. Yeah, let's go with Cabrera. Cabrera hits a ground ball to Pete. Pete's not gonna throw home. He thinks he has a chance for a double play. He's gonna throw a second.
No.
He's gonna throw a second. How do you feel about this?
Are the corners in, or are they playing double play?
No, they're playing double play. Everybody's playing double play.
So the corners aren't in. If the corners aren't in, then he has to go over 2. Yeah, but if you're playing the corners in, Cabrera's a lefty.
Well, of course you're gonna go home if you're playing.
You have to.
Yeah, of course.
That being said,
but let's say Pete's. I'm trying to give you a play here where Pete's got to throw the ball to second base. All right, to turn a double play.
Well, here's what I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. Cabrera's gonna beat it out, and it's gonna be a tie game with first and third and 2 outs because Pete can make.
But
what if
it was a shot to him though? Like a shot, like a freaking rope to Pete.
Hey, the ball gonna be hit as hard as it wants to Pete. He's gonna throw a lollipop to second base no matter what, bro. He just doesn't have that arm. It's gonna be a lollipop to second base, and Lindor is gonna have to hope for the best. How many times has he almost gotten Lindor killed on a play like that?
Yeah, he has.
And I love Pete. But you have to accept people for who they are and what they are. And he's just not a good thrower. But he can hit bombs, man, and that's what we need from him, and that's what we needed for this lineup. The Mets were not going to be as good without Pete. I don't care what the stats say, what WAR says, what anybody says. The Mets needed Pete Alonso back. That's why when everything was going on, I was consistent in the chat. Even when they pivoted and all that crap, Pete was. Oh, I always said he was coming back. I always thought he was coming back.
So if the Mets are in a situation like that, you think the corners are going to be in?
I think they should be, because even if it's not a lefty or right with like the bases loaded, I think like. Me personally, with like in the world, there's so many things that go, like who's pitching, who's hitting behind Cabrera, like there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I personally think what I would do is corners in, middle infield halfway, so you have a choice: go home or throw, or do a double play. But that's what I would do. If it's like bottom of the ninth, you're up 1 to win the World Series, yeah, absolutely. Like I'm trying to cut that. I do not want extra innings on the road.
Yeah.
No, sir.
My fear with the corners in is always the hard rope down the line. But I guess that's the that's the.
But I just think if you're playing everyone back, then you're conceding the time run, even if you don't get the double play. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that you need to hedge a little bit, or at least take a chance. To win, you can't play scared. That's how I've always been.
Yeah, of course.
You gotta go for the win.
I see your point, and obviously, going home is a little bit of a safer bet because if you get the out of home, you can still try to go to first and get the out of first.
Yeah, no, and I mean,
still get the out of first, but at least you got you got the guy out at home instead of going to second, getting in the out at second, and then coming back to first.
The other thing about it is you keep the force play at every base.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
If something happens, Vientos makes a diving play, he just needs to touch third, right? So it's like there's a lot that a ball in the hole that Lindor he can throw to third or second, So
I don't disagree. I was actually honestly. I was just trying to give you a play where P had to throw the ball to second base. Like completely, I was trying to get. That's what I was trying to do. It hasn't crossed my mind until you brought it up. That you're probably going to be playing.
So let's just talk about it. Let me ask you really quickly. 1 out, runner on third because there's no force. So now it's like infield has to come in. Ground ball to Pete. How confident are you?
Yeah, see, I wouldn't be confident. Yeah, that's the point I was trying to get to you.
It's like
I wouldn't be confident. Like I would be biting my nails the entire time, which shouldn't be a thing when you're just throwing the ball to a base.
Yeah, that's why I've always said, look, man, about the Lucas Duda play specifically. The thing that angers me about it is that I know I could have made a good throw home. I know that there's a lot of people. I can throw 90 feet, 100%, and I know I can throw at least 70 miles an hour down that line. Like I've played ball my whole life. I don't think I can hit in the bigs. But if you give me a ball. Like from first base, and I just have to throw home, I can make that throw.
I can too.
I know I can
because I've played regular baseball with 90-foot bases.
And I know I.
But
now, is it gonna? It'll probably be a bang bang play when it has no business being a bang bang play. But again,
now these days, yes. When I was a kid, I could throw bullets to the bases, but. Yeah, also can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna be on a baseball diamond and throw the ball home." You gotta put yourself in a Game 5 World Series situation.
Listen,
bro, I'm going to be honest. I'll probably be shaking a little bit.
Listen. Now, of course, the circumstances change. You squeeze the ball a little tighter, you get a little nerve, your butthole clenches a bit. I get it. It can be nerve-wracking. However, Lucas Duda, my guy, you were playing your whole life.
Yeah, agreed. But the part that kills me is it wasn't like...
Dude, the game was over if he throws home and makes that play. Travis just needs to literally catch the ball and wait for Hosmer this.
It wasn't like Ricky Henderson was running. You had Hosmer running. That's the part that kills me.
And Hosmer was going back to the bag, and then David Wright's lollipop arm, and then he went. Yeah. So again, it's just a play that 10 years ago I know I could have made. Yeah. 10 years later, I think I could make it. I do. I probably don't throw as hard as I did 10 years ago, but from 90 feet, I'm pretty confident I'll make. Hosmer wasn't even halfway down the line, man. Like, when you watch the replay from when the ball sailed over Travis's head and where Hosmer was, you're just like,
Yeah, he was done.
dead to rights, and we would have gone on to Game 6. DeGrom would have made up for his shitty Game 2 performance, and in Game 7, we had Harvey and Syndergaard on deck ready to go. Well, Syndergaard with Harvey. You know what I'm saying? There was a lot that would have worked in our favor. We would have done what the Cubs did the next year.
Yeah.
Come back from 3-1. But
It's crazy. It's
Terry
crazy.
Collins.
I like Terry.
I
like
don't.
Terry. That video.
I also didn't. Oh yeah, I can enjoy that video. And I appreciate it.
That video was awesome.
But he made a lot of stupid decisions in the World Series, man.
Yeah. Cespedes in the outfield.
When you have a Gold Glover on your bench.
Yeah.
And if you look at the stats, Juan Lagares had one of the best World Series hitting wise.
Yeah.
Now they were all like singles
crazy.
and shit and like little dribblers, but it doesn't matter, man. You have a Gold Glove center fielder. How is he on your bench?
Yeah.
You can start Kelly Johnson.
How do you feel about McNeil at second base?
I'm okay with him starting there. But as long as he's not given like a long leash, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think he had a good enough second half last year before he got hurt after the All-Star break where he was hitting and he was one of the better hitters. And whether you like it or not, he's on this team for 2 years. You're not just going to cut him for nothing. He still has some value. And I think you give him a chance to perform, but I don't think you give him a long leash. I don't. I think that you have Acuna, you have Jet, you have Ronnie, you have so many guys, Brett, that can play not just second base, but infield on the Mets, that you don't have to give him a long leash. What I do like about McNeil is, though, that he can also play the corner outfielders, but we have so many outfielders now, too.
Of outfielders.
So,
I gotta be honest, bro. I'm over this guy. Like, I want Acuna to get his spotlight now. Like, I want to see a full year of what he gives me. You know, like Vientos. We almost didn't have Vientos playing in majors. They said like that.
What was I saying? The previous year when Buck was here, I thought Vientos should be playing, and I was very adamant that I thought Vientos was good. Not because I thought he was this great player, but you see the guy hit a fastball, and you're just like, oh, he can hit. He just needs to get timing down and get opportunity to hit the other pitches. But when it comes to Acuna, you know how I feel about him, man. I just think he's like a slap hitter. He chases a lot.
Willie hates these slap hitters.
I'm not, and you know the thing, and Jeff McNeil is very similar, but again, so it's like, what choice do we have? I think it's different from DJ LeMahieu where he's put up consecutive like unplayable seasons. Like, you've seen signs of life from Jeff.
Yeah, towards the end of the year, I agree. Last year he was doing better.
Both years, like. In 23 and 24, his second half, he had over 850 OPS both times. Like, he ended up performing better. However, I don't think you should give him that kind of slack this time. I think that, like, if by first week of May he's still struggling, like, you start platooning them, or you start giving Acuna more time, or Ronnie, somebody. I think Jeff knows that he can't afford to start the way he has the past couple of years.
Here's Jeff McNeil at his best is what? A slap hitter also, right?
Yeah, but he's a slap hitter with a 380 on base percentage, man.
Okay.
Like, his best years, like, it's actually pretty freaky how consistent he is at like a 380 on base percentage.
Yes.
And that has value.
But
now,
he also hasn't had that year in a few years
2
now.
years. Yeah. And listen, I'm agreeing with you. I'm not here trying to defend Jeff. I'm just saying that they can't trade him because he has no value. I don't think cutting him is the answer yet because he showed he can still play. And I think if he shows that, it's worth keeping. He's worth more to the Mets than he is to anybody else.
That's fine. I don't mind having Jeff on the team. I'm just saying, please start Acuna because, look,
I think he will eventually. But look what happened even last year with Vientos, right? Like, you gave Beatty a chance, and then he didn't run away with it, and so now Vientos comes in. I'm okay with the same thing happening with Acuna. You give Jeff, who's the veteran, who has performed at a like. If I'm being honest, if I thought Acuna could be as good as Jeff has shown he can be, I would want Acuna starting guaranteed over him no matter what. But I really don't. I really think that Jeff can put up a better year. Now, I'm not saying he will, but I think that he still has that kind of potential because he's done it in small sample sizes the last 2 years. What he needs to do is just be more consistent with that. And if he can't, then yeah, start riding the bench, start playing left field or right field every now and then. You know, but I do think that Acuna will get his reps. I do. I have no issue with, as like Mendoza said it, Jeff's gonna get the first crack. He knows he has to earn it to keep it. And I'm okay. Now look, if we're in May and we're doing one of these and Jeff is having another 600 OPS year, Get him the hell out of there, man. Bring on Luis Angel, bring on Jet, bring on anybody. I agree with you. But I don't think I think April's okay to just let, because baseball is a hard sport, man. So you don't want to put that pressure on Acuna of, oh man, I have this veteran right behind me. I don't think he's gonna get a long leash, and I think we have more than enough options to pivot to if he struggles again. Whether we like it or not, and when he signed the extension, I told you I hated the extension. There's no reason you should be extending a player in their 30s. Like, he's a slap hitter. It is what it is. Like, make him show you do it again. That's how I feel. Yeah. All right, they extend him, so then you do. He has 2 years, 2 guaranteed years left on that deal. This one and next year. So for this one, I'm okay with him starting and then earning to keep his job. Next year, if he struggles again this year like he did the last 2 years, he's either going to get cut or be a bench player. But I trust Cohen or Stearns to eat 1 year. You can't expect them to eat $30 million. Like, you have to see at least if he can provide value for your team. And last year, yeah, he was terrible those first 3 months, but the final 6 weeks before he broke his hand, he was good, and he helped the Mets a lot in that July and August run. Like, Jeff McNeil was a big part of that. I know people don't remember that.
No, I remember
September,
that.
But Jeff McNeil was really big in July and August.
I remember that. I remember he started hitting very well. He started hitting the ball very well.
And I agree with you. Like, you can't wash the ugliness that you've seen for the last 2 years, the slamming the bat down and all that stuff. You can't. But it's not like Acuna lit it up in AAA.
Yeah, he didn't. I just want to see the kid, though. Like, I want this kid to get a shot.
He deserves his chance.
Because I feel like when he got up here, he came up in a very, very, very pressure situation, and he did his thing. Like, he was playing well, and he gives us something that we don't really have much of, and that's speed. That spark plug that's on the bases. And I want to see what he could give me in a full year. And having Jeff McNeil here, alternating Jeff, Acuna, I just don't think Jeff McNeil is going to be giving us that much more than Acuna is going to give us. And they're both slap hitters, like you said.
So what's your option? Like, what are you going to do with Jeff and his $30 million? Like, what do you realistically want to do? He has no trade value. Well, yeah, you're not going to cut him.
I just want to start Acuna, bro. Like, what are you going to do? Like,
but you have to be realistic about these things. Like, you're not going to just make Jeff disappear. You're just not going to put a $15 million bench player.
Why not?
Player on the bench. I'm not saying that it can't happen eventually. I'm just saying you can't start the year that way. I think two things. It sends the wrong message, because I genuinely believe, as good as Acuna was for 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it was, what has he done to earn the second base job? He had a terrible year in AAA. Okay, he went down to the Venezuela League, and he had a pretty solid winter league down there. But again, what has he done to earn that job? He's not smacking the ball off the cover off the ball in AAA. He's not. He had a pretty bad year. He was like a 650 OPS. He had almost no power. Now, yes, he showed life in those 2 weeks, but so did Mike Jacobs once upon a time. Like, a lot of guys. Who's the guy? A plumber a couple years ago came up, hit a couple bombs, right? Like, you need to see more from Acuna. He has to earn that spot. Take it away from Jeff. Same way like Vientos, right? What did he do? He took the spot from Beatty. Like, he hadn't done that prior to that, but he went down to AAA. He raked like he always has, and then he came up, and it translated to the majors. Like, you have to do that. You have to show, you have to earn it. You can't just be given that opportunity. I agree with you. I want to see it, but I want to see him earn it. I want to see him take it. I don't want to see him given an opportunity because Jeff sucks.
But he's taking it away from trash. It's like you're going in. It's not like you're taking this job away from like Jose Altuve. You're going in there and you're taking it from Jeff McNeil.
What did we just say? Like, last year, Jeff, he was a big part of that July-August run. He was. And if that player is still in there, I'd rather he start than a new guy with a learning curve who's going to have his slumps and things like that.
But you do agree that if April happens and Jeff McNeil has an OPS of 500.
Oh, my God. If he has an OPS of 500, like, come on. That's not even,
That's what I'm saying.
That's like worse than a pitcher.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you're giving me at least, look, I'm a baseball guy. You're a baseball guy. If Jeff is scorching the ball, hitting the shit out of the ball, but it's not falling and he's hitting it at people, I'll be fine with that because I know eventually it's going to start falling.
Yeah, like Lindor last year.
Yeah.
Everybody was talking about his start, but I'm just like, are you not watching the games? He's smoking the ball.
Yeah.
It's just he keeps hitting into bad luck. Like, I was fine with Lindor last year, and I get that. But to me, two things have to happen. Yes, Jeff has to struggle again, but I think he deserves the opportunity. I really do. Like, I don't even like Jeff McNeil that much, but I think that based off last year, none of the second basemen in the Mets system, Jet got hurt. Acuna was out the whole... not Acuna, I'm sorry. Mauricio was out the whole year. Acuna, he was underwhelming in AAA. So I don't think anybody earned the right to take a spot from Jeff McNeil, who's won a batting title in the major leagues. Like, I understand that he hasn't been that player in a couple years, but just last year, he was still a useful part of the team. So, do I think Acuna can match that? No. That's why I don't want him to start that yet. But I'd be happy to be like, bro, go rake in AAA. Go rake again in the majors. Like, after those 2 weeks, when Lindor came back and his playing time was sporadic, like, I don't want to see Acuna on the bench. I want to see him in AAA getting consistent playing
Well,
time.
I definitely agree with that. If he's not starting, I don't want him. I don't want him here. I'd rather have him play.
Yeah, exactly. Same way last year or 2 years ago when Buck was here and Vientos. Like, why was Vientos riding the bench under Buck? Like, what were the Mets playing for? It just made no sense to do that. Zero sense. It doesn't matter. Like,
yeah, you have to get your reps in.
Like, come on, man.
I totally agree with that.
That was such a stupid decision on Buck's part, and it almost hurt Vientos' development. But you could also argue it probably motivated him, or who knows? Like, you know, he made a lot of changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think that I want Acuna to earn that time. You know, like, remember we went to go see Alvi play when he was in the minors?
Yep.
He was killing in them. Earn your time, bro. Like, earn that. Take the spot. Make them force you to play, like Vientos did.
Speaking of Alvi, I think he's the most important piece of this Mets team this year. I really do.
I love his confidence. I know that a lot of people are laughing at him about his statement about the Dodgers, but again, I want my athletes to be confident.
Yeah.
I do. I don't want my athletes to be deferential. I don't want them to be respectful. Like, I need you to have that attitude of I'm better than you, whether you like it or not.
I just believe that Alvi is like, you know, if he has a really good season, you know, like kind of like what we expected of him when he first came up, or, you know, those times where Alvi has killed it, because he has gone on stretches where he had like over 900 OPS.
I mean, he did that in September.
If he can have a great season and kind of prove to us he's the player that we thought we were getting when he came up here, the Mets are going to be so good this year. That lineup is going to be so dangerous.
Yeah, listen, Alvi is a big piece, but to me, the thing that I worry most about, like, the Mets lineup is just health. Just please, everybody stay healthy.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing with everybody.
Like, whether he's a big piece, I think if everybody stays healthy, the Mets will be fine. Whether or not Alvarez takes that jump, as long as, like, if last year is the base and he goes above that, that's what I care about.
I hope
he's
so.
still only 23, still young.
I hope so, because we got to go through a juggernaut, bro.
And whether people, but baseball is funny the way it works, man.
Yeah,
you know, like 2 years ago, the Diamondbacks eliminated the Dodgers, right? So you never know what'll happen. The Padres were one game away from eliminating the Dodgers, and then we would have had to face them, right? Like, you just never know how baseball's going to work out. So I'm looking forward to that. But as far as Alvi goes, I think, I agree with you, but you have to remember he tore his thumb last year. You know, an injury like that, taking that time off, it's hard to come back from. You know, I know a lot of Yankee fans talk about Wells getting hit in the hand, and then that kind of ruined his second half resurgence.
Yeah.
Like, hands are so important, not just for catching, but for batting. Like, you need to be able to have healthy hands. And so if you can't grip the bat because you tore your thumb, or, you know, like, I think that's going to impact hitting, and people probably forgot that a little bit.
So let's move on to the final topic, which would be Marcus Stroman. So there's Marcus, Long Island, baby. He didn't show up to the voluntary workouts, which is voluntary. You don't have to show up to those. And then they asked him, would you be fine moving to the bullpen? Because in my opinion, the Yankees have a stacked rotation. Like, I think he's the worst of the six. In my opinion.
I mean, let's go through the five really quickly. Obviously, you have Cole.
There's only one.
Rodon.
That's the one.
You have Fried. You have Heel. And who's the fifth? Schmidt?
Yeah.
I mean,
the only guy that would be close to being taken out from Marcus Stroman out of those five, in my opinion, would be Rodon.
I mean, Rodon or Schmidt, I think you can probably, like...
See, I like... I don't know.
I like Schmidt, but I think ultimately... I think Marcus Stroman is also underrated as well in a lot of ways. I think a lot of people sometimes confuse his bravado, confidence, whatever, all he talks. They sometimes let that overshadow what he brings to the table. And I think a lot of people are forgetting two things about Marcus Stroman. First and foremost, he was signed to be a starter, right? I know everybody's always going to say, oh, do what's best for the team. Sure, but the option that he was given in his contract requires him to be a starter in order to reach the innings limit to get paid. Like, so that's number one. So from his vantage point, he's had to hear all winter long about how the Yankees are trying to get rid of him. So when he comes to the stadium, he needs to make it clear, like, okay, you guys are trying to get rid of me. That's business. I get it. Then from his vantage point, he needs to protect his business too. Like, it goes both ways. You can't just have a team all winter long make it clear they're trying to get rid of somebody, and then you want that guy to come and just continue to be hunky-dunky and just happy with every... No, like, he could have made a bigger stink about the situation. Why are you trying to trade me? You're going to regret, right? He could have. He hasn't done that. All he said was, I'm a starter, which both Booney and Cashman have both come out and said, he's a starter. That's what he's training for. That's what he's here for. Ultimately, this is a business of baseball, and I don't think he did or said anything wrong. Like, he was asked a question. He made it clear. He stood his ground. Sometimes when you're at work, your boss wants you to do something, and you need to stand up for yourself. There's no different than whether you as a teacher or me as a producer, whatever it is, there comes a time where you need to stand up for yourself because it's a business both ways, not just one way. And I know as fans, we want our players to be there and do whatever the team needs. Sure, I get that. But more than anything, like, we need to remember that they're people and they need to look out for themselves. Why? Because when they're no longer on our team, fans don't give a damn about that player. We don't. It doesn't. Once a player leaves, like, we don't care what happens to them. So, like, that's why fans are irrational. That's fine. That's why fan is short for fanatic, right? Like, they're not supposed to be rational. But from the player's perspective, he needs to do his best for himself. And I don't think he went about that in any disrespectful type of way. He could have done it a million times worse. He could have done something way worse, right? Like, but he didn't. He was asked a question. He feels he's a starter. And, dude, $18 million, man. Like,
I understand that. I got to be honest, though. I don't think he's in that mark whether he starts or not.
Well, he hit it last year. And he averages about 140. Like, the 2 years he was on the Cubs, he had like 140 and then 138. Like, so the only times he doesn't when he's been injured. But if he's healthy, he hits that mark easily. And from the Yankees' perspective, I get why they don't want him to hit that mark also. Like, don't get me wrong.
Well, obviously,
like, from their business,
that's business. I understand that part.
But it's business both ways. And then people are taking it personal without. And let's just talk about him showing up late. Like, I had no idea he lost his house in California. I don't know how many people knew. But he's going through personal things. If he's not required to be there by the CBA or getting fined or whatever, we don't know what's going on in his life. We don't. Baseball players are going to be gone for the next, Yankees specifically, because they have deep plans to go deep into October. So for the next 8 months, he's going to see his family in a very limited time, right? So if he spends an extra couple of days, Juan Soto hasn't reported for the Mets yet. Why is nobody killing that? Right? Like, pitchers and catchers and players aren't mandated to report, I think I saw until the 22nd, which is next, Saturday? Saturday? So why isn't Juan Soto getting crap for not being at? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he should. Look, players. It's cool when players show up early. I love seeing Lindor there every now and then. I love seeing Nimmo there, whatever it is. But when it's May, are you thinking about who showed up early to camp or who didn't? Or you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, the voluntary.
We're just desperate for baseball. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah. The voluntary show up, I don't really care about. I'm like, whatever about it. Again, I'm not really a Yankee fan, but you know how I feel. I didn't like Stroman even when he was on the Mets, bro. There was something about Stroman I did not like. I did like his confidence and the way he was very energized on the mound. I love that part of him. But the player himself, the attitude he presents, when he left the Mets, he started calling everybody racist. That kind of stuff was just like pissing me off. The kind of player that in all honesty, like when he was with the Mets, it was whatever. It was when he left the Mets and he started commenting about us, started trashing our players, started trashing management. That's the part that pissed me off about him.
I always try to remind people that athletes, whenever they, like, and this goes across the spectrum, no matter race, creed, or whatever, athletes, when they perform poorly or when they perform a certain type of way, they get abuse that we don't see, right? And so now you couple that with him being a black person, being a half black, half Puerto Rican athlete, like the stuff that he gets, I think we probably can't even imagine. That's the first thing I always try to remind.
I agree. I'm going to cut you off real quick. I agree. He probably gets shit from fans, like, because, again, fans are cruel. But management...
No, I think
I don't think the management was.
No, but I think if I remember correctly, from his vantage point back then, he was arguing about how they weren't protecting him as a player from that abuse, and he felt like, and I agree that it's on the employer, it's incumbent on the employer, in this case the Mets or the Yankees, whoever it is, it's their job to protect the player from those things.
Is that what he said though?
If I remember correctly, it was a lot about how he felt like they left him out hanging to dry when these things were happening. Now, look, Marcus Stroman was also the guy that Bob Bradley went on TV and made a joke about him wearing a do-rag, right? Like, he's dealt with things differently than we have.
See, but that's a stupid. No,
I know, but I'm saying though, he deals with things like that all the time. Now, I'm not excusing. I just think we need to be in a place where we need to remember that we're all different human beings. We all have, nothing happens to us in a vacuum. Marcus Stroman is what, 5'7" maybe?
Something like that.
He goes up against giants every day. In order to be able to be successful at baseball, look, man, you may not like his attitude, but he's not hurting anybody. He's not out there committing crimes. He's not out there, doing drugs and all these things. Like, he's out there just being himself. Now, look, maybe people disagree with me, but, because they'll say, oh, look at Altuve. He's not like that. To each their own. But for Marcus Stroman, what made him successful, this was a guy who pitched in the AL East for so long and had years with ERAs under 3. And I'm talking about pitching in the AL East when Boston had Betts and Bogarts and JD Martinez, when Toronto had those big bats that they had. I think wait, he was on that team. Never mind, my bad. But you know what I'm saying? Like Marcus Stroman, like, people forget, like, we want all our athletes to just, I guess, be in line and be a certain way, but they're all different people. Look how quiet the Japanese players are, right? Like, that to me is annoying. Like, I want to see Otani or somebody being at the podium after every single game.
You don't want your players bowing the umpire?
There's like a fine line, right? Like, I also didn't like when Jesse Winker slid home and slammed his helmet and all that, and it broke and went a million plates. Like,
that shit was funny.
I was like, yo, that's a little OD, man. Like, to me, I was like, bro, calm down. You could hurt somebody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that helmet can go flying, but I don't know. I try to live and let live, man. If the guy's not hurting anybody, if I get that he might rub some people the wrong way, all right, but then ignore him, mute him. Like,
all right. So final thing, if again, you're not a Yankee fan, I'm not a Yankee fan, so it doesn't mean anything to us, to be honest. But like, if your player, like let's say Stroman, is shit in the bed. Now, I don't think he will. I don't think Stroman's a bad pitcher.
No, he's a 3-4 guy.
He's a ground ball pitcher.
He's a 3-4 guy.
He's a ground ball pitcher.
3-4 guy, yeah.
I don't think with the defense that the Yankees have that Stroman's the best kind of pitcher for the Yankees. Because in my opinion, Yankees defense needs a lot of work. I know Volpe's a pretty good shortstop.
Yeah.
But they have a very old first baseman.
Depending on where they put Jazz, though, he's pretty good at second or third.
How's Goldschmidt fielding wise?
He's supposed to be good
because
again,
he's old,
37.
Bro.
Exactly.
Like bending down all the time like that. Like, yo, dude's freaking old.
So what's your question?
If Stroman is shit in the bed and, the Yankees are like, all right, you're going to go to the pen. And he's like, hell no, I'm not going to go to the pen.
Now, yeah.
How would you feel about that?
Now, that to me is different. Now, you might remember this or not, but like 15, 12 years ago, whenever it was, when Oliver Perez was on the Mets and he was starting and he couldn't be sent down to the minors because he already signed that extension that I think Minaya gave him.
Yeah.
And he was a terrible starting pitcher. I think it was 2010 or 2011. They asked him to move to the bullpen, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. I think they asked him to go down to the minors probably. Eventually, he moved to the bullpen.
I remember
and turned
this
that into a career. The
vaguely.
point is, like, if you're not performing, like, yeah, it's hard for me to defend you. Like, at the end of the day, it's a results-based business, and that's what we want. So it's like, as long as you're performing, it's fine. But yeah, no, that's a totally different situation. He's never really been in that situation, and maybe when his career's done, more teammates will come out and say that he was a bad teammate. But those stories don't come out either. Like, there's not a bunch of people clamoring for, him being this crappy teammate or anything like that. Like, it's sports, man. How many times have you played with someone that has a lot of bravado, is very confident? Like, people talk all the time, whether it's basketball, football. Like, trash talk is a big part of the game, and when it comes to playing a sport professionally, like, you're like, people think that it's just the physical that separates athletes from normal people, right? But it's also the mental. Like, these guys are sharp 24/7. They have to be. They're required to be. And I think people sometimes forget that. And, like, you can disagree with Marcus all you want on a million things, and I get it. Like, I'm not even here trying to tell you that he's my favorite player. I just think that it gets blown out of proportion so much because it's him. You know what I mean? Like, it's that one guy. If he hadn't played on the Mets or Cubs, whatever, like big market teams, if he had played like on the Guardians or Tampa Bay, like, would we have this victory?
Yeah, my thing is just that I didn't like the attitude he had towards our ownership, and I didn't even. I don't even remember that was Steve, bro. That's even worse for me now.
Yeah, no, I mean,
because Steve is like, I feel like Steve treats everybody so freaking good. Like, everybody, I feel like the Mets are building this like family where people want to be here.
I don't think he was like, it was necessarily aimed at Steve so much as it was Epler, who I think was the GM at the time. I think it was more aimed towards Epler, and Epler probably saying like, and he's, I think maybe he also spoke Marcus because he was probably hurt that they pivoted away. They didn't even offer him a contract. I think they signed Max and a bunch of other people that year. So for him, like, from Stroman's fan, he's probably just a little hurt, probably said some things he regrets. But again, like, the vitriol he gets, you would think that he's out here like starving babies, beating his kids. You know what I'm saying? Like, the guy, for all intents and purposes, okay, so he talks like, man, you've never met somebody that's annoying? They don't deserve, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess from I maybe I miss it. Maybe I'm not as in tune to like social media. Maybe I'm not seeing the whole picture. Happy to have another conversation about it, but I don't see like what the purpose is. Like even like you talking about how what he said, dude, that was 4 years ago. Maybe it's time to move on. Like you know what I mean? Like I don't know. And he's not even like enough of a player anymore to like where he's important enough to be dominating the headlines like this. Like he's not gonna make or break the Yankees season. He might make or break the Yankees payroll because they don't want to add with his $18 million on the books. But he's not gonna be the reason the Yankees don't make the playoffs. He might be the reason the Yankees make the playoffs because you always need starters. You always need depth. Cole got hurt like midway through spring training last year. They were pretty healthy otherwise. Heel can probably now pitch more innings this year. We'll see how he does. I have certain reservations about him, like similar to Vientos. You want to see them do it again. You want to see them do it once the league adjusts to you. I mean, to me, it was pretty telling. The Yankees didn't trust him as much in the playoffs, so, we'll see what comes this year. And as for Stroman, let's be honest, he's not going to be here the whole year. Yankees need to trade him, not just for this type of distraction.
You think he's going to get traded before the season?
I think that if the Yankees start the season with Stroman, they're going to probably have to keep him. I don't think they'll be able to trade him in season. Think about it. Those deals like usually don't happen. Like a team who's competing for a playoff is not going to trade a starting pitcher in the regular season. Like
but if he doesn't want to go to the bullpen and you already have 5 pitchers that are better than him.
I hear you, but like think about it, right? Why would the Yankees let the situation get that bad? At that point, you're trading him for pennies on the dollar. If he doesn't want to go to the bullpen, why would another team say, "Hey, let me take that headache off your hands"? So, like, something needs to give before the start of the season.
Well, I think the Yankees have a lot of things to think about, though, because then you also have DJ LeMahieu, where what if he's not performing? You're just going to have him just chilling on the bench, too.
Well, what does he have? 2 years left also?
Something like that. And this is another guy that he's not going to...
Yeah, he does have 2 years. He signed that 6-year deal.
Yeah, and this is another guy where, you look at and you say, okay, this guy also won a batting title because you brought up McNeil won a batting title. And you're just going to have him chilling on the bench, too, if he's not doing it.
Okay, look at even if you talk about DJ, he had that game-time home run in that playoff series. I think that was 2019 against the Astros, right? Yeah, it was 2019 when Altuve hit the walk-off, right? So in 2020, DJ had another great. I think that was the year he won the batting title, right? That short season. So he got paid off those 2 years, and they weren't even 2 full seasons. And signing a man in his 30s to a 6-year deal, like that's why, like even with the whole Pete and Mets negotiation, I understood where it was coming from. Like it's a business transaction. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense to give Pete 6-7 years when he's already 30, coming off back-to-back down years. Like. So DJ, that was a crazy contract that they gave him.
Speaking of bad contracts, has there ever been a worse contract in the history of sports than Anthony Rendon? Has there ever been a worse contract than that contract? This guy came to the Angels with such high aspirations because he was coming off Nationals team where they won the World Series. How much more is he
making than Chris Davis? So, Chris Davis was a pretty bad deal in there. I don't.
Yeah, but like Rendon,
my head,
he never.
Maybe Josh Hamilton, but that was 5 years, so it wasn't like. Josh Hamilton was a pretty bad deal. Pujols' contract was terrible.
Yeah, well, you were getting, and that's the same team. Same team. That team came in there with so much aspirations. You had Pujols, you had Rendon coming off the
Trout.
Trout. You know who he is. And
Pujols is an interesting case because he didn't put up good numbers, but he played that whole contract. But he was not worth it.
I mean, it wasn't worth it. Of course, Rendon never plays. He's always out.
And he was really good when he did play. I remember. The
Nationals team 2019. He was a freaking beast, bro.
I know people remember Harper leaving, but they left behind freaking Trey Turner, Rendon. They had who was their catcher? Was Suzuki one of the catchers?
Harper didn't even win with them. It was
I know it was Soto.
These guys, Soto, Rendon.
Was it Michael Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor.
They had, who's the lefty? Adam Eaton.
Yeah,
remember him?
That was another.
Kendrick.
That was another team where
Ryan Zimmerman.
Yeah, Zimmerman was.
Asdrubal Cabrera was their second baseman, and they traded for him.
Asdrubal.
And the rotation, obviously.
I like that Asdrubal. His home run with the Mets, bro, where he had the bat in the air.
There were 2 players that I always told you I wanted on the Mets before they came. Cespedes and Asdrubal. Yeah. Those are 2 players that I thought they were solid, but you know how it is.
Anyways, that's going to be it for our show today. I appreciate you all for listening. I appreciate the support. I hope you all enjoy listening to my new co-host, William Gallego, right here. Dude's an encyclopedia. I still can't believe that he got every single one of those statistics right.
Luck counts, baby.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, if that was me, I probably would have got out of the 6, maybe 4. Maybe not even. Maybe halfway.
I'll do it with him next time.
Yeah.
I'll have a couple players in mind, and I'm not gonna do any Mets or NL East or AL East players.
See, here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Even if you gave me someone like Pat Burrow, I'm not getting that. I'll tell you right now, there's no way, because I don't remember that Pat Burrow. I knew he played on the Phillies a while, but I didn't realize. I will not remember that he went from Phillies and then just played Tampa Bay one season. I won't remember.
Again, the only reason why I remember that is because I literally went down a rabbit hole recently where I was looking at the 2008 Phillies championship team, and Pat Burrow, I was like, I always confused him with Scott Rowland when Scott Rowland was on Philly. Yeah. So I was like, oh my God, Burrow, what happened to him?
But you know he was a Met killer. Killed us.
Or Rowland, because both of them were.
No, but Burrow.
So was Rowland.
Yeah.
And Rowland killed us in that stupid 06 series.
Yeah.
Rowland was the guy, wasn't Rowland the guy that Andy Chavez robbed? Wasn't it Scott Rowland?
Scott Rowland. Yeah, right? Scott Rowland's the one that hit it.
Andy Chavez robbed. Andy Chavez robbed. So, like, I was looking. So, that's the only. It's crazy the way sometimes things worked out.
I thought you said Rollins for a second.
No, Rowland.
Yeah, Rowland. Now I know what you're saying because you said about 06. I'm like, wait a minute, Rollins didn't play for. I was trying to think, and then when you said the home run, I was like, oh yeah, Rowland.
Come on, I remember again. Anything that happened in that time, man. Yeah, I'm gonna give him one player. I'm gonna give him one player, and I'm gonna see if he gets it. And I'll even be nice, and I'll give him a guy that played on the Mets.
We got the Mets in 09, okay. 09, 10, 11, and we have the Giants, okay, and Chicago. Chicago in 06.
Switch hitter.
Okay. Let me look at the stats real quick. Okay, we have Chicago to the Mets in 08.
When this guy came on the Mets, I was really happy.
Got 0 home run power.
But he was a good player.
Okay.
And he really helped the Giants.
64. Okay, 64. See, I'm taking way longer than Willie because I need to dissect this. But I'll probably eventually be able to get it. Okay, see, I need to dissect these things. All right, the triples. There was one season with the Giants. He had freaking 15 triples.
You want me to give you a clue?
No. I think I got it. Hold on.
Drum roll, please.
I think I got it. Wait. Okay. No power.
I can't keep going.
280. Yeah, very low slugging, no power. Let me see how he played for us.
Good player.
I know.
2010 was a great year for the Mets. He was on the Mets.
Okay. All right, I'm going to say a player. I hope this is right. Did he come from the Cubs? That's what I'm not sure about. Yeah. So I know he played for the Giants. I know he played for the Mets. The guy I'm thinking of. Was he an outfielder?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I don't want to get this wrong. You got everything right. I can't get one that played for the Mets and I'm wrong. Was it Angel Pagan?
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
All right. I was like, I was scared to say it because you got like 7 in a row right. You're giving me a Met player. I'm getting him wrong. I don't remember if you came from the Cubs. I remember, obviously, I remember the Mets and Giants. I don't remember because I remember he had a horrible injury with us and, was out for like 2 seasons towards the end. But Pagan was awesome with us.
Yeah, and then they traded him for a pitcher from the Giants, Ramirez. Who sucked on the Mets. That. And then Pagan went and helped the Giants win a damn World Series, man. Also, I liked him because the idea was Pagan in center, move Beltran to right field. Yeah. But it didn't work out. All right, that was pretty good.
I'm glad
Hopefully y'all enjoyed the first episode.
Thank you so much for listening. If you could, please hit a like and subscribe. We really appreciate it. And peace out, y'all. Have a good one.
Let's go Mets, baby.